Joining me now, Illinois Democratic Congressman Mike Quigley. He is co-chair of the Congressional Ukraine Caucus. Congressman, thanks so much for taking time this afternoon.
Thank you, Jim.
So you're seeing another attack on the Republican speaker from his right flank here. If there were to be a motion to vacate, do you believe that Democrats would vote to help Johnson maintain his speakership?
Jim, I just left a one-on-one meeting with Leader Jeffries. He made it clear that procedure comes after substance. Let's see what's in these bills. Let's see what he's willing to do, and then anything's possible. I'll say this individually. Speaker McCarthy would still be Speaker McCarthy if he had reached out and talked about raising the debt ceiling and got a deal done and stuck to it. The speakers who think that the crazy caucus can be appeased are former speakers.
Okay, let's talk about this latest plan to get aid to Ukraine, to Israel, to Taiwan passed instead of all at once in individual votes. You and I have been talking about this for months as Ukraine in particular suffers from a shortage of military assistance from the U.S. Do you believe this plan will work? Do you believe this aid will not just get a vote, but get passed?
This is the worst possible plan to get it done. It's conceivable. Clearly, the opposition is going to not waive the 72 hours, so we'll probably be here late Friday into Saturday. We still haven't seen text of what they're attempting to do. So at this point in time, we should have done this months ago, of course. It's further evidence of an inability to govern. And finally, there's no sin in compromising and working with the party across the aisle. In fact, it's the only way any of this will get done.
Let me ask you this, because you and others, and by the way, Republican lawmakers who support this aid have said, if this aid, Ukraine, Israel, Taiwan, if it gets to the floor and gets a vote, it's going to pass. Are you confident, these divided up as the speaker is now planning, that they will at least get a vote?
I think they'll get a vote, but again, the process makes a big difference. So they're going to open this up to multiple amendments. Let's appreciate the fact the Senate won't pass any of those bills. The Senate has already passed this. If we put that bill on the floor, the Senate bill, it would pass, and the president would sign it tonight or tomorrow, and this critical aid would go through. So again, this is the worst possible way that we're doing it. It still stands a chance. It just puts itself in opposition to its possible passing.
Understood. Well, in an interview with the PBS NewsHour, Ukrainian President Zelensky suggested NATO partners are more interested now in defending Israel than Ukraine, and looking, he said, for excuses not to provide that assistance to Ukraine. What's your response to that argument?
I've met President Zelensky 6 times during the war. He's been Churchill-like, I would say. I can imagine he's under the most enormous strain. So, look, I think you got to give him a little slack and recognize just how much pressure he's under. He's trying to hold this together when the key component here, the United States, is wavering. So I think he's done an amazing job, and it's our job to not worry about one soundbite he said in frustration, but to help him win a war that's critical to us as well.
He also said that the lack or shortage of air defense missiles meant that Ukraine could not protect a key power plant from a Russian assault in the last several days. And by the way, that's been part, as you know, of a broader assault just to burn down Ukraine's infrastructure. You just returned from a visit to Ukraine. How precarious is the position now of Ukrainian forces without U.S. assistance?
Yeah, we met with Polish, U.S., and Ukrainian military. It's now or never. It's very precarious. I think that they're being outshelled 8-1. And let's remember that 97% of the Russian targets with missiles and rockets are civilian or infrastructure. So this is the worst kind of warfare by a despot. And the pipeline is nearly empty, and it takes a long time to fill that pipeline. We are way past due. Going through some process to appease people you'll never appease is putting lives and democracy in Eastern Europe at risk.
Before we go, just a final question. Is there any discussion of bringing these aid measures to the floor, which Democrats want, in exchange for Democrats saving Mike Johnson's gavel? Is there any discussion of that quid pro quo in effect?
Look, I know members talk about it individually and to each other across the floor. To my knowledge, Speaker Johnson has not reached out. And it's not so much about saving its gavel, it's just agreeing to a process to move forward. I would just say, if Speaker McCarthy had done this, he'd still be Speaker. If Speaker Johnson wants to go the other way and continually try to do things without Democratic help with only a one-vote majority, he's deluding himself and he's putting a tremendous amount at risk.
A lot to watch for on Capitol Hill this week. Congressman Mike Quigley, I'm sure you'll have a busy one. Thanks so much for joining.
Anytime. Thank you.